Hi everyone, it's Dr. Hall here, and we are heading into our final lecture of the semester. So lecture 26, we're going to talk about the reward circuit in the brain and then tolerance and dependence. I am very aware of the fact that lecture 25 was quite long, and this is the last week of the semester. So we're going to keep this one relatively brief and focused. There is so much that we could talk about when it comes to substance use and different drugs of addiction, their mechanisms, their treatments, but we are running out of time. So I highly recommend that you take the Drugs in the Brain course that is offered through our psychology department so that you can learn more. So we're going to talk about the reward circuit in the brain and then how tolerance and dependence can occur. Let's start with reward circuit. So this is a system of our brain that makes us feel good when we do things that are likely to enhance our survival. So evolutionarily, this was really, really important. So it not only made us feel good if we had some calorie dense or nutrient dense food or had sex or accomplished some tasks like, yes, I've skinned that deer, now we can use the hide to make clothing or whatever it might be. But it also it makes you feel good, but then it also tends to reinforce that behavior and say, okay, that was really good. That was really awesome. Let me make sure I do that again. Let me make sure that I remember how I did it and the circumstances of the situation to help reinforce and motivate that behavior. So they show you on the left here that modern day triggers are a bit different than the ones that we experienced evolutionarily. So certainly certain types of foods are really good at triggering the reward circuit. Any type of infatuation or love interest. And then, of course, video games and social media and gambling and drugs of addiction and so many other things also exploit this natural system that we have that is supposed to promote survival enhancing behaviors. And unfortunately, some of the behaviors that now in modern day it enhances and reinforces are not good for us. So how does it work? There are neurons in an area of the brain called the ventral tegmental area. So that's right here, the VTA. It's part of the midbrain, and they produce dopamine, and they send it all kinds of places. So this diagram is showing you that it sends it to the nucleus accumbens, which is this location right here. It also sends it to the prefrontal cortex, which we've been hearing a lot about, and it also sends it to the hippocampus, which we cannot see in this particular diagram. So as remembered, you're going to remember how this felt and be motivated to do it again. So let's look at how this is all happening. So it turns out that the dopamine is also going to go, I forgot to mention, it's also going to go to the amygdala, which we know is important for emotional processing, and that's part of what makes us feel really good when we do these things. The hippocampus helps form those strong, positive memories associated with whatever activity it was. And the nucleus accumbens, so this is a new area that we haven't learned about before. So that's this one here. Nucleus accumbens is there, is the one that's really going to result in increased drive to do that again. So it's really important for motivational behavior and reward. And then the prefrontal cortex. So it is going to activate the prefrontal cortex, which is going to increase our attention on that thing and help us focus on it, and then also influence our decision making. So I think you're starting to perceive why this could perhaps be something that would be exploited and hijacked and not a healthy thing in response to certain types of stimuli. So addictive drugs as a whole tend to cause release of dopamine from these cells in the VTA, in the ventral tegmental area of the midbrain, but at levels that are anywhere from 2 to 10 times higher. So like massive amounts of dopamine get flooded through this circuit. So it basically hijacks, floods the reward circuit, puts it into overdrive. So it's like your reward circuit on steroids, right? So it's just like, So you feel amazingly good, right? So you can feel high, you can feel euphoric, right? So those good feelings are just absolutely maximized. That motivation to get more and to do it again. Thank you, nucleus accumbens. So that's where we see then intense cravings to use the drug again. And then, of course, impaired judgment and decision making. Hello, prefrontal cortex, because it's going to prioritize things that allow us to get that drug again above pretty much anything else. So what addictive drugs and drugs of abuse are doing is basically giving us way more dopamine in this circuit. So it's just overloading the circuit. And so then we start seeing all of these dysfunctional behaviors and responses. So really quick, yes? So the reward circuit is evolutionarily important for reinforcing behaviors that promote survival, right? That's why we have it. That's why it exists. And the ventral tegmental area, that little collection nucleus of neurons in the midbrain, will send dopamine to a whole bunch of different parts of the brain, including the amygdala, which results in feeling good if it's like a normal thing like chocolate cake, the hippocampus to help us remember it, the nucleus accumbens to motivate us to do it again or to keep eating the cake or whatever it might be, which is maybe why sometimes you keep eating even though you're full, and then the prefrontal cortex for, attention and decision making. So addictive drugs, we believe one of the ways that they work on the body and the brain is that they are overloading this circuit. So all of these things just get distorted to the max. So that's it for 26A. We'll pick up with tolerance and dependence in 26B. See you there.